But we want to really, really know the truth, right? We really want to know what the real world is like. We long for it. There's such a deep, strong longing for the real world. A simple question yet remains and needs an answer. Do you like what you have made? A world of murder and attack, through which you thread your timid way through constant dangers, alone and frightened, hoping at most that death will wait a little longer before it overtakes you and you disappear. You made this up. It is a picture of what you think you are, of how you see yourself. A murderer is frightened, and those who kill fear death. All these are but the fearful thoughts of those who would adjust themselves to a world made fearful by their adjustments. The fear of those who would adjust themselves to a world made fearful by their adjustments. The adjustment to the world, as it is perceived, is very fearful, because it is like an acknowledgement that it is real. I had some scary things happen to me in my young age. It felt real and it felt scary, and I adjusted to it. I tried to live in it. We need to train our minds. We need to allow ourselves to get out of it. And then we'll just see the past as a distant dream, something very unreal or surreal. The world is fearful because we adjusted. We adjusted to it. Sin as an adjustment is the name of this section I'm reading. So he says this: they look out in sorrow from what is sad within and see the sadness there. So there is something sad within that looks out in sorrow and sees sorrow outside, because what's sad within is not released. That's all it is. That's why the message is go within, clear it from within, face the fear. When we face the fear, there is no fear. There was no fear to start with. There is no fear to face, but when we take the direction to face it, and we don't avoid it, we realize it's only there because we avoid it, because we adjust to an external world, which is all about avoidance, avoidance of the inner core truth. Have you not wondered what the world is really like? How it would look through happy eyes? The world you see is but a judgment on yourself. It is not there at all. Yet judgment lays a sentence on it, justifies it, and makes it real. The world you see is not there. All it is a judgment on yourself. When you change your mind about yourself, you will get a happy dream. You will receive so many happy reflections. You will get reflections of how loved you are and how much love is flowing through you. When you forgive yourself, you see a forgiven world. You forgive your perception. All the world is a judgment on yourself. I think of that song, The Greatest Love of All. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. Sing it out, Laurie. Yeah. You find that self-love, capital S, self-love. It's very natural. By quitting, stopping the judgments, rest in God's love and protect yourself by loving. That's a very nice message from Jesus. As within, so without. There is love within, there is peace and harmony outside. And it's not even seen as outside anymore. Just reflections of beingness. What we fear is not there. It's nothing. Such is the world you see, a judgment on yourself and made by you. This sickly picture of yourself is carefully preserved by the ego, whose image it is, and which it loves, and placed outside you in the world. And to this world must you adjust, as long as you believe this picture is outside and has you at its mercy. You want to wake up. Don't want to be at the mercy of a sick picture that was made by the ego. This world is merciless, and were it outside you, you should indeed be fearful. Yet it was you who made it merciless, and now if mercilessness seems to look back at you, it can be corrected. It can be corrected. You don't want to avoid. Seems to be fearful or merciless. We face it, it's corrected. It's gone. It's beautiful. Who in a holy relationship can long remain unholy? You are in a holy relationship with the Holy Spirit. You won't remain unholy for long when you have taken Spirit's hand. It's on its way out. The world the holy see is beautiful because they see their innocence in it. They did not tell it what it was. I like that line. You know, Jesus says you can get salvation from a table if you don't tell the table what it is. Like when you remove judgments, conclusions, the ego is so quick to conclude, and then it tells you it's safety, that it's safe to conclude and interpret the world, to get some control. The ego says it's order, get it in order. Like when you see a person, you may judge them. You may think you know who they are based on what they look like. This is interpretation and judgment. But here it says the holy sees their innocence in the world because they haven't told the world what it is. They let it tell them what it is. The holy are still and let what appear, appear. And let it be, and let it show them what it is. And it's really nothing. Like the external world is not really there. The Holy Spirit makes no distinction among dreams. I think that's what happened to me this morning. I realized I had a distinction as I grew up. I thought what I lived was real and it was very specific. But the Holy Spirit makes no distinction among dreams. The Holy Spirit just says, well, they're just dreams, you know. You don't have to fixate on one dream or think that your dream is real. The Holy Spirit is very helpful. He puts all illusions in one pot, the bucket that says unreal on it. And we can open up if there are any questions or thoughts. You can unmute yourself.
Hi.
Hi.
I don't know if it's your last satsang. You were talking about your own process that you had to face your fears. Sometimes you mentioned the word even terror, that you faced terror. And I assume that you were bringing all this or looking at it with the Holy Spirit, no? The reason why I mentioned it because I related to that because I'm going through the same process myself at this moment through experiences of intense anxiety, panic attacks, depression, things like that. And I say to myself, please, Holy Spirit, help me. Let me look at this with you. And what came to me was look at it without judgment. For example, going through a panic attack, all these experiences in body and all these subtitles. Oh my God, my goodness, what am I gonna do? This is unbearable. I can't handle this. I'm going to die. All this words. I just put that aside, the subtitles aside, and look at it without the thinking mind. And I assumed that's one way of looking at it.
Yeah, to be able to look at it without judgment, that would be it. Then it goes away. But it's like, this world, it was made from fear. And the fear hasn't been faced. That's why the world is still experienced. And when you start facing the fear, it gets worse. The terror, while you still believe in it, while you still believe in the world. And yeah, for me, it was like, I just had to go through it. I didn't have a method. It was like my heart, my whole being was calling out to God, for healing, for knowing. But it was a period of time that was super turbulent and intense and feeling very lost, very disillusioned. And I knew that I went through it because I had experienced a trust beyond myself. I realized that the Holy Spirit is trustworthy. So I was able to I invited the darkness up. I said, I can let anything heal because I know I have seen a love beyond the world of form. So I invited the darkness and And it came. And there was a time I regretted that I had made that prayer because the darkness was intense. It was worth it for me because I had been asleep for so long. We were joking about how long the mind has been asleep, how many lifetimes, how many thousands or millions of years. Like, horrific, really. So the short time it takes to go through this fear and terror, it's not too bad. And actually, you actually gain from your mighty companions progress when you join minds. It's like that, yeah. But yeah, all the whole course is so helpful. Like when you go through these difficult things, there are those prayers and yeah, very helpful messages all through it that will help to bring the darkness to the light. We have tried so much to bring the light to the darkness, but it doesn't work. We need to bring the darkness to the light because then we see it's not real.
It takes great courage to say, okay, I'm going to face this, because most of the time we, like you said, we run, we avoid.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I don't want to avoid anymore.
No.
So I'm going to face it. It
Yeah.
takes great faith and courage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To bring it on. Yeah.
Yeah, bring it on.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, next we can go to Anna.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So nice to be here with you guys again. First of all, I wanted to say thank you for bringing this up. I'm going through a very similar experience. So I'm so grateful just to even get more clarity around it. So thank you also, Jenny, for your sharing about your process. And I think where my question came in was, and where I'm struggling, did you find that your circumstances were also then reflecting this heightened, it doesn't just feel like an internal experience of, depression, panic attacks, or it feels like my outer circumstance. And I know that the ego projects. And so I'm like, and then it feels like the ego goes into this double whammy of, oh, I'm feeling this, I'm doing this, I can't get out of this, and then look at this, I'm also creating this, and it's just a crazy. Is that part of it? Did you experience that? Because I
Yeah.
think okay. Maybe just realizing that, that's part of what's happening might help me, detach from the cycle maybe more easily. But I would love to hear about, that side of the process if you wouldn't mind sharing.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I just had to get away from the old relationships, family and friends from the past. I just had to get away because the reflections were so intense and so hard to deal with. And then as I started my healing path and I visited them, and I remember that most of the time it was still super intense and weird. It was it was like the dream figures, like the special relationships, had played such a big role in my life, and they seemed very imposing throughout my life, and even when I started to wake up, and even when I visited them. And as I practiced the course and the lessons, there were times when I felt like I had to pray so much and prepare my mind to have a meeting with my mother. I remember one time we went to the grocery store together, and I had prayed for a few hours and done the lesson and really asked for help in how I perceive her. And we actually had a lovely time for about an hour or so, because I had been able to clear so much. But most of the time it was very difficult. And it felt like bullshit, actually, that everything is within. When I had those reflections of judgment, of like, she's crazy and what's she up to? And, so so that was very intense to go through all that. It's like a reflection of where the mind is, so there is a lot to heal. There are so many layers, and they will be reflected, so.
You really, I mean, that's hitting it right, the nail right on the head with exactly what I I was referring to. I think, it's a lot of family and friends, and it's old special relationships that, I still see the love there, but, maybe without the shared goal, the relationship just feels impossible. And I keep trying, but maybe there is, there is a certain degree to, both people need to share the goal of joining. Sorry, it kind of sounds like you, at some point, you realized you had to honor that your process needed space from these relationships. How did you know when it was time? Like, what was the point? It's like it was just unbearable.
I mean, it was super clear when I left Sweden. It was just, so it was very obvious, because I had felt this calling to leave Sweden and go to America. And then I thought, no, that's impossible because of the relationships. And my son, I had a son, a 10-year-old boy, and I thought, that's impossible. I can't do this. And I said that to God. I just said, I'm not doing this, even though I had felt such a calling. Like, my heart was pounding for 3 days after I received the invitation, and then I started sharing about it with people, and everybody said, you're crazy. How could you do that? How could you go and leave your son? He's 10 years old. You have to wait. All these, bombardment. And they were reflections of my doubt thoughts. So I was like, God, why do I have this calling? Why do I feel to go when I can't? I have responsibility here. Don't you know? So I just said to God, I refuse. I'm not going to do this. And that day was the strangest day in my life. I felt so weird and empty and completely lost in a way. So I just sat there on my bed, and for many hours, I just sat there in this kind of empty space, because the one thing I wanted to do, I couldn't do. And as I sat there in the afternoon, suddenly I just felt this presence surrounding me, coming from everywhere. It's the only way I can explain it. From within, from everywhere, not within this body. It was just everywhere. It was just the truth visiting me. And the two light beings appeared, like huge, beautiful light beings full of love. And they started communicating with me, sharing with me, answering all my questions. And at the end of this session, they say to me, or they transfer this message. And this is not like talking like we do now. There is no time between the question and the answer. It was simultaneous. Time didn't exist. It's simultaneous. Like, this light was just reality. And they say to me, we're grateful that you're going to go on this journey. And these beings, these beautiful beings, were my parents in their essence. They are my parents' true selves, and have no likeness to my earthly parents in their characters. No likeness other than the essence, the truth about them. This was them, no doubt. and they told me to go, or they told me they are grateful that I'm going to go. So that was very clear. So I did go. And my son was fine. He moved to his dad, and it was a big journey to go through, leaving him. It was just a lot to face the years to come, but just me following my calling was the most important. And I learned that it doesn't matter what the outside world looks like or the messages it gives me. If I want to follow God, I can. I have the permission from the truth to do it. And this is the message I want to share with you and with everyone, is allow it. Don't let anything hinder you, because this is a gift to everyone. This is a gift even to the ones that you seem to leave behind, even to the ones that seem, to be your closest relationships or most difficult relationships. It's a gift to everyone, even if it doesn't look that way, even if they don't recognize that. You don't have any other responsibility than accepting your calling. So that's what I realized, and that's what I followed, and I never ever regretted it, even though it was, of course, a lot of difficult feelings to go through even after this. So it was very obvious. And then I did come back and try to act. I act out this persona again, and that didn't go very well. And I was very detached, but also very scared. It was a difficult time, and then I left them again. And in that time, there was no angel beings. It wasn't like a blazing light that was like blazing the path. It was just this feeling like, no, I need to take this all the way. But it wasn't, it's not always like you get God speaking to you, telling you what to do. It can just be this feeling like I need to change. Yeah.
I think so. I'm realizing that I think because I've had the experience both of the clear communication, and then also when I don't get anything, I'm realizing that maybe there's also a purpose for the not getting anything. Like sometimes we are meant to just decide. It's like, okay, you have enough knowing, to take this step on your own. So I really feel that. Thank you, Jenny. That's a beautiful story, first of all. And yeah, I think that's where I am at right now, where I have the knowing that it's time to go, but I don't have the where yet. And I think that also that being in limbo part is a big challenge, just knowing yes, but also waiting for the answer to where. Thank you, Jenny.
I think, often we just get one step at a time. And I do get this invitation, the word stopover here in Spain. And, maybe the next step will get clear.
Yeah, I actually I'm getting a lot of tingles, like goosebumps on my body with you sharing certain things. And I actually wanted to ask you about that, the community living and things like that. I realized that I think part of the reason why the answer to where hasn't come yet is because I'm very attached to what it looks like. And I'm realizing that there's a lot of shedding that's going on right now. And part of that also means shedding other things that I've been in my blind spot to not let go of. Yeah, maybe we can chat about that, that came up for me. That was a question I wanted to ask. So thanks.
Yeah. But yeah, for me, it was also like this step by step, because I thought I knew where I was going at that time in 2006 when I left Sweden, but it was so obvious I wasn't meant to be where I first went. It was very purposeful for a short time, but the guidance was so clear to move on. But it wasn't until I was there that I got the next step. I feel often that's the case. We just get one step at a time. Just to learn to trust. We often want to hold,
Yeah,
want to hold.
definitely. Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sometimes people get a book and they wanna see how it ends, so they read the last chapter. Life is like that.
The ego would love that, right?
Yeah, and it's all about undoing judgment, and if we know what we're gonna do, what's gonna happen in 3 weeks, in a month, in a year, we get too attached. We live there instead of being present, and I've had that experience, even with guidance, like intense experiences of knowing the guidance. For example, I was in the US and I had the guidance to go to Europe in early 2014. I was in Spain and I was guided to go to the US. But while I was in Spain, in the early part of the year, the Holy Spirit kept saying through me to other people, I'm going to be back at the end of the year. I'm going to be back here at the end of the year. And it kept happening. And it was very clear, very strong. So I knew I was going to come back here to Spain at the end of the year. I came back to the US, started planning a big tour for David and for a whole group of people, me included, to Europe in November 2014. So it's like, yeah, okay, this is happening, this is coming in. And I was the one planning the whole thing and doing all the communications. And one day, David said, well, I heard this guidance that you're not going on this tour. I said, what are you saying? I have guidance to go to Europe. I want to go. And I have heard that I'm going to be back. He said, no, you can't cling to that. He said, and I said, if I can't trust the Holy Spirit's guidance, then I'm not going to trust you anymore. It was so intense because I felt so clear that Spirit had guided this. And he said, no, don't put your safety in the future. You need to let it go. You need to let Europe go, he said. Say goodbye to Europe. So I did practice for weeks just to let go of Europe as a place. And then this tour came in, everybody went except for me. And then at the end of the year, in December, the guidance came in, go to Spain now. So I did. So I get goosebumps when I share it. It was just so helpful to let go of the plan, even clinging to what the Spirit had told me. It was letting go of pride, letting go of spiritual ego. It was very helpful. David helped me in many ways. Those things.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing, Jenny.
Yeah. Thank you. And yeah, I think also with what you brought up and the intensity that we can go through on this journey, we just need to be so gentle with ourselves because it is the unconscious mind coming up for healing. We had this call with Solveig earlier, and she shared how intense it is, and the reflection with our relationship with Peter is just so intense, and it's because the unconscious mind has been unconscious and it's coming up, and the reflections are not easy to deal with. So gentleness is very, very healing, as much as we can, and when the intensity of the reflection is just so intense, it's just hard to be gentle, but as much as we can, just to take it easy and slow, and maybe go be by ourselves and journal or pray for a bit. Okay, do we have anyone else?
Yeah, I felt my heart bouncing, so I think it's time. First of all, I want to thank you guys to connect last week with me. But first of all, pride came up, so I want to put that on the altar. Then I saw specialness towards you guys, and I was thinking, what? Okay. But then the next day, Diana was here, and I had a beautiful joining with her. And when I was sharing with her, suddenly I felt so much pain in my heart. And I realized, oh my gosh, this is the belief that I can hurt others by saying no, or I can be hurt. And I think it was still like a part of that specialness what I had with my ex-husband, because he said no to me after 30 years. So I think that was still in processing. And then suddenly, oh my gosh, every day I get like all those beliefs, deep beliefs are now coming up, you know, as a child, 7-year-old child, where I took control to push my father away. And I really can see how it's not totally gone. I still believe I can control the world. And it's really yeah, all those beliefs are coming up. Yeah, of course I don't trust God. My parents were not trustworthy. So why in the hell do I trust God? You know? So it's when you said about the bucket, that
Yeah.
and then I saw all those beliefs going into that bucket. But also thank you for the reminder that, yeah, I'm starting to love myself more, because that is the reflections I get back. But it's so easy to forget and not to bring it in. That's for me the reflection. So thank you for that reminder that the outside world will reflect when you are healing. Yeah, so thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You're on a speed up.
Yeah, I honestly, since I joined you the third time now, I'm really in a kind of speed up now. And you know, the street name I'm living in now is Rabbit Street. So Spirit is putting me in the rabbit hole, you know, to come out. And so beautiful.
Great.
Beautiful symbols. So thank you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we celebrate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Very joyful.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, it's sweet with the symbols. We had a frog this morning that came, and the frog was sitting. We have a little ledge from the tile area, and the frog was like sitting with his little head up above the tiles and looked, yeah, like a green frog, like almost like the ones that are animated with a smiley face and the big eyes, you know. And I looked up the symbol, and it was the spiritual symbolism, and it's all about transformation. It's just beautiful. In Native American tales, the frog stands for transformation and growth. These meanings transcend into the spiritual world, where the frog symbolizes cleansing, renewal, transformation, and growth. Very symbolic, very strong. So the reading, if you want to look more at that, was from
Sin as an adjustment.
From paragraph 4. Yeah.
So I'll just be like the frog.
Yeah.
Take that leap. Love you guys.
Yeah. Much love. See you soon again.